Welcome to Unreal Engine sample project. My name is Cliff, and in this video, I want to talk about interface programming. We use a sample project to explain and practice implementation of interface with Blueprint code. You need to know how to make events, and also you need to know what is parent class in Blueprint programming in order to understand and can follow this video. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand implementation of interface by using Blueprint in Unreal Engine. You can send and receive data between Blueprint objects at runtime, and you will learn how to optimize your code by using interface. Please download the sample project from GitHub, run it, make sure it's working. As you know, when you run Unreal Engine projects, there are shaders, need to be rendered, all those things. So make sure that process is done and the project is ready to go. You need to follow with me and open the project, check the projects, check the code as I go through this video. So make this happen before we begin. And in this video, we will go through a real example of interface communication and references. You need to understand the pattern behind the interface before you learn how to make it by code. We will check the sample project, use sample project in this video, and you will learn how to, and we will use line trace as a tool to implement our interface. And at the same time, we will learn how to access parent class by using interface. At the end of this video, we have a homework, or let's say practice, just to make sure everything is well practiced. Okay, so let's begin. So as I mentioned, please make sure you download the sample project, ready to go. No problem, shader's done, and you can run it with no problem. So, what is interface? In order to understand the interface, let's go through a real world example. So, imagine you are in overseas, holidays, you're far from home, in nature, and in the morning, perhaps a hotel, perhaps a city, something like that. And in the morning, you go to a cafe and you will say good morning. So if someone speak English, you may say good morning. Hey, how you go? Where you from? Australia, United States, UK, perhaps. Um, you may say buen dia. And if you're lucky, gorgeous, beautiful Spanish lady may reply to you buen dia. So, and perhaps a communication, friendly chat. You may say bonjour, and French boy, hey, how you go? For example, if you know French, oh, sorry for my accent. Anyway, and there is a communication, there is chat, or you may say good morgen. That's Danish boy, communication, talking, chatting, things like that. So, what is happening when you say buen dia? You use the Spanish language and send your data, which is basically good morning. Or when you say bonjour, that's French, or good morgen, or ni hao, or any other language. So the language here is like a bridge between humans to send and receive data, to communicate. I have no idea who is she. I have no idea who is he or this guy. I don't have any reference to them. I don't have any background about them. I just say buen dia. And if I'm lucky, beautiful girl, beautiful lady, gorgeous lady may reply to me, and there is a communication in the beautiful morning. Okay? So, let's with this back background with this story, let's say, let's jump into the project. I will back to this story again. So let's see what we have. If I run the project, you can moving around. This is basically a third person um, um, template. I use Unreal Engine 4 mannequin to reduce the size of the project. Let me grab the project. Here we go. This guy here and there. So it's just 13 megabytes and Unreal Engine 5.6. So if I press E, I can activate and deactivate this gate or let's say switch, whatever you call it. I can activate and deactivate this one by pressing E. Basically, there's a line trace and that line trace will interact with this object and activate it. And I have a key 8 and I have a number 8 here, which represents the key required to activate this switch. All right. Now, if I try to open this one, it doesn't work because it requires key number 4. Excuse me. And I have key number 8. So if I go here and press Q, I can grab key number 4 from this object to myself, and then I can open this gate or activate this switch. At the same time, I can activate this switch as well. So what is going on here, basically? Every communication you see was happening, was implemented, was developed, was, let's say, engineered. All these phrases are right with only interface. These objects have no reference to each other. So if I click on third person character and go to properties, as you see, I just have a key ID, a name, and a message. I don't have any reference to this guy, which is switch 00. This one is switch 01, and this one is just a key. I don't have any reference to any of them. You may surprise Cliff, what do you mean by I don't have any reference? So let's say I have this object, which is the light 00. So I open this blueprint. Inside this blueprint, I make a custom event. I call it KO. And every time I call this custom event, I will say, for example, print. I will print out KO. So if I want to call this event, it can be a function, it can be what, if I want to call it from my third person character, first thing first I need to do is I need to make a reference to this object. So let's say item F2 item. This item is BP underscore. I believe it was, yes, switch number 3. So if I type switch number 3, perfect. I make it public, compile and save. And every time I press Control C, if I press, for example, Q, let's just rid of Q here. I will grab this switch item and it will call KO. And straight away it gives me the name of my event. So this is referencing an object. I know that object. I know it is BP switch number 3, and I know KO event, whatever event or function is exists there. So if I compile and save, I just need to just reference that public variable. This is my reference. I play it, and I press Q, and I have KO. So this is normally how you communicate with object. You grab a reference, you call that reference. From that reference, you can call whatever that object has. But let's back to our example. You don't have any reference. You don't know this lady. You don't know this guy. You don't know this guy. You just say buen dia. And as I mentioned, if you're lucky, you will receive buen dia. So you send the data and you receive data. Why that happened? Because of a breach called language. Spanish language is like a connection, is like a bridge. Data send and receive. It's like a pipeline. In computer programming, we call it interface. From that interface, you send data and you receive data. You don't need to know who is, what is the receiver. And that's important. That saves a lot of process. And that's a topic of optimization, which I will go through during this video. All right, so with this introduction, let's just talk about interface right now. Let's see how things are running here. I just get rid of this one, and here we go. So every time I press E, not F is forecasting, here we go. Every time I press E, I shoot a line trace. From myself, I figure it out where I am, forward vector, multiply by a number, and a start and end. If I hit something, then I grab other actor. As you see, this is just an actor. If that actor implements the interface, it has activation interface, does the object implement interface? Does object implement interface? And you can choose the interface name here. If that is true, perfect. Then run activation check, then run activation receive. And these are the interfaces I just made. I will go through how to make this interface in short, just be patient. I need to just get the logic. I just check, can you speak English? Can you speak French? Can you speak Spanish? Can you speak any language? And if the answer is yes, do you have that interface? If the answer is yes, then I can run functions and events. So how that function and events are working, let's just grab this object, browse to asset, check it, and here we go. If I go to event graph, I have this. So when you call an interface in Unreal Engine, you have this icon in front of the blueprint block. And when the interface get activated, you have this icon. Well, interface can get activated as an event. Interface can get activated as a functions, which I will point out soon. So as you see, I don't have any reference to anyone. I just shoot this line trace. If the other object has that interface, the object will activate like this. And the activation of the object is basically just grab, depends on the state, if it is active or disabled, change the state and move this basically scene root of the object to this billboard point. So this guy will move between these two location of this pose A and pose B billboard object. Pretty simple. So something here, this is actually performance, not related to interface, just for the performance. So if I use a switch node, okay, the switch node 1, 2, and 3 execution of blueprint node, it takes to do my job. But if I use a select node, let's just get rid of switch node and go to select node like this. So I have a select node. Depends on my current state. If it is active, I make it disable. If it is disabled, I make it active. And I set myself to the new one. So I'm active, set it disabled, set myself to disable. So this active became disabled. And then depends on that, another select, as you see this select node, this is another select node. Depends on the active or disable, I send the object. And that object get word location. I grab the location of that object and move that scene to that location. So as you see, 1, 2 execution. Here I have 1, 2, and 3. So that helps to simplify your blueprint, perhaps some good optimization, performance, things out like that. So don't miss select node. Select node is very good with blueprint programming language. And that's it. Basically, when I run it, that interface will call that function, that event, and it does the job. How about this one though? So I have key number 8. If I call this, sounds like I send my key to this object. This object understand it is key number 8 and get activate and deactivate. But it doesn't work for this one because the key is number 8 and this object needs key number 4. How that works. So let's check the object. I will go through implementation of interface very short. Please pay attention, just get the pattern. The pattern is important. So if I open this one, as you see, when I call this interface, not only I send a message, but also I send an ID. So in this object, I compare my own ID to this ID. And if that is true, then I perform the open and close action. So each object here has an ID. Here we go. I have the key 8. Let's change it to 3. And let's change myself. I have actually a door key ID, which is 3. If you go to third person character, you will see here, I call that activation receive. I send a message, say send the key ID, which is my own key ID of third person character. In the destination, I will receive that ID, compare ID to myself. If that is exactly same, then I perform the activation of the door. And it works like this. Key number 3, key number 3. Here we go. And if it is not equal, it doesn't work. This is key number 3. I have key number 3, and that has key number 4. It doesn't work. Interesting. How about this one? So if I press Q, it sounds like I grab the number from here to myself, and from here I can send it to the right switch, or let's say gate door, whatever you call it. How that works. So if you go to third person character, you will see by pressing Q, same line trace interaction. Here I check another interface, which is basically check key. And this interface give me functions that I can receive a key ID. At the same time, I not only can receive data, but I can also at the same time send the data to these functions. So as you see here in this example, sounds like I receive data from interface, but in this one, sounds like I send the data into interface. Also, I can just activate an event from interface. Don't send anything. So let's check this one actually. This one is activated on key. So as you see, I don't have any event here for the interface, but if you open the interface section, you will find two functions of interface. One of them is key ID. Every time this function get called, it will return key ID. So you already know functions in Blueprint. Let me make a function here. Function, let's call it KO. And let's just return. I use KO because it's just simple and nothing is in engine is called KO. So if you search straight away, you can find this and it's simple enough. So here we go. We have blueprint function. You can have a couple of input and couple of output different um, data type if you want something like that. So compile and save. So if I go to the event graph and I call KO, here we go. I can call this function. I can send things and return. So the interface can work like a function. You call this function and it return you key ID. You call this function, you send data as you see, and you get return other data. So in this case, I send player name. If the player name is valid, send me the key ID. If the player name is not valid, just print a message, hey, player is not ID valid, and send -1 as key ID, which is invalid to me, to my logic of the game. Anyway, let's try this one. So if I say send player name and get the ID from this interface, I don't want to run this one. I just want to run this one, compile and save. So if I back to the game and if you click on player, you see I have player A and here I have player A. So I can get the key from this object. Here we go. Key number 4. Perfect. So if I change my player name to something else, for example, if I say player B, yeah, and I run it, if I try to grab the key, it doesn't like it. It just give me, hey, you're invalid name, blah, blah. So, and there is no reference. I don't know what is that object. So imagine when I try to, if I press Q on here, nothing happens, nothing breaks, nothing freezes, nothing happens. And it's like here, you say good morning in a language that none of these person can talk. There's no interface. They don't understand that language. They can't reply. They won't reply, and nothing breaks. So the interface, as you see, works like a bridge, a connection, a pipeline between you in a real world and others. Like a language, you can send and receive data by using that language. You don't need to know other to talk. You don't need to know anyone else to talk. As you start talk, then you can know others. You can work with others. You can communicate with others. That's exactly works with interface in Unreal Engine. So, question is perfect. How we make it, how we implement and how you how you put, for example, when you press E, how you put these things here, how this interface is implemented, made, and all those things. So in this video, will go through interface implementation with Blueprint. In the next video, I will go through, you will see interface implementation with C++, and that's quite important and very good knowledge of programming. So let's back to this example for the last time. So as I mentioned, it's in the morning. You're in overseas, you're in holiday, you're in a cafe, and you like to order a tea. So let's program an interface to order a tea. So I want to order tea from this object. Assume this object is a cafe or is a bartender, or I want to order tea, or perhaps tea machine. I don't know if they. Anyway, so you get my point. First thing first, you need to make an interface. So right click, go to Blueprint, blueprint interface, it's very important that you name your interface like BPI, that's my naming convention, or I, or something with I. And you will see why this is extremely important on your programming. So I call it BPI, um, breakfast. Perfect. So when you double click, you have a blueprint editor for your interface. In this case, it is BPI underscore breakfast. So let's say have a tea. So the first interface I made here is have tea. I say compile and save. Let's back to the third person character. Control C and Control V. Here we go. I want to press T and check if the other object have T. So let's grab line trace and 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 this guy, Control C. Please just follow with me. If you can pause the video, and please pause the video and just follow. It's important if you understand exactly what's going on. And here we go. I should line trace on the other actor if that actor is implementing an interface. So I will say BPI, and straight away, all the interfaces so far I have is listed here. So this is important that you have a naming convention for your interface naming. If you just call it whatever you want without naming convention, you will end up with chaos. And if you go for job interview, if you try to get hired in a company as a game programmer or Unreal Engine application programmer, not good. So please, naming convention is extremely important. It's professional approach. It's an industry practice. So I choose breakfast. If the other actor has the interface of breakfast, let's say, and here we go. We'll call it, what was that actually? Funny. C, okay, have tea, let's say, have tea. And this is again not good. As you see, I just try to find, okay, what was that? Imagine you have a lot of things here. Having tea, having coffee, having this, having that. Can I have this? Can you change this? Doesn't make sense. So for naming the functions of your interface, you must follow a naming convention again. In my case, in my area, this is Cliff. I prefer to call every blueprint interface with BPI underscore and also the functions and events of that interface with BPI underscore. That will make my life way much easier when I try to search for the interface. So if I type BPI underscore, here we go. I have T, I have activation, activation hide, activation check, and at the same time, I have the other interfaces for the key. So as you see, the list is just interface. This makes it very much easier than you try to say have a T, or you try to look through a list of a lot of blueprints with different names. So BPI underscore have T. Perfect. So this is calling interface on the other object. The question is how we put this interface on the objects, or let's say how we know the other person is talking in the same language, how the other person have that language, how the other person can make a breakfast, what the other, sorry, the other object have can make a breakfast and have a tea. So to do that, right click, browse to asset, open the asset, go to the parent class, class setting, go to the implementation. As you see, I have another interface already implemented here. So add BPI, and as you see again, that naming convention is helping us. I have a list of my interfaces, and this one is breakfast. Perfect. You can have multiple interface on any object. A person can learn multiple languages and speak in those languages. So an object can have multiple interface. Perfect. So I have breakfast, compile and save. If you open the interface section, here we go, have tea. So all I need to do is just put a message here, there, get rid of this one, and I will say, yes, we have tea. So if I compile and save, if I run it, and I press T over this object, oh, yes, we have tea. So as you see, I don't have any reference to this object. This object can be a huge object with, so actually this topic is very important. So this object here can have a lot of mesh, particle system, sound, connected to other object, material, layers of textures. Perhaps there is something online internet. If it's a multiplayer game, there is process over the network on this. There are so many things with this object. So if you try to make a reference of it, as I made here, the compiler need to assign, the engine need to assign resources. The engine need to assign process to load it, a reference, and then from that reference run what you want. But when you call the interface, it doesn't need to know, it doesn't need to have all those complexities, particle system, texture, sound. It doesn't need to have all those at all. It doesn't care about those things. So there is no process, there is no reloading, things like that in the background. It just go through the base class, which is an actor, and check if that base class has that interface, which is here, there. If this interface exists with base class, if that base class implements that interface, then no problem. It can run it pretty easy and does the job. And that is critical for optimization application like virtual reality, mobile phone games, tablet games, and basically the computers with very weak system features, graphic card, process, RAM, things like that. Interface can save you as a programmer to run your application smoothly only by referencing parent class of the objects. So, perfect. All right, they have tea. Can we order tea? For example, we say I want 2 tea, perhaps. I was so lucky, beautiful lady just just replied to him, perhaps we would like to have tea together anyway. So how can I send data through interface? That's the main question. So let's make another function, BPI underscore order T. Let's say, yeah, order T, then why not? Order. Perfect. So now here you can implement input and output for your interface. So I implement an integer. And basically I say count. You can add as much as you want input to this interface. The input can be, let me put myself here. The input can be anything. It can be even the objects. See, I can send and receive even objects through my interface. So pretty handy um, pretty handy what is called, let's say, object, let's say tool. I mean the interface. Perfect. So here we go. Then I can call BPI underscore um, order T. And here I can say, as I mentioned, if I'm lucky, let's say Control A2. On the destination, you can grab that interface. See, the destination has that interface already implemented. Yeah. I can grab order T, and here I can print out that number. So let's say just Control C, just simply print it out, and no drama. Compile and save, run. So now if I press T, yes, we have T, and I already, as you see, I sent number 2. Very interesting how we can get data. So here, as you see, if I press Q, at the moment it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because I changed my name. If I change it to player A, I can grab number 4. How we can do this? How this part is working like this. So let's go to the interface, breakfast. I add another function. Let's say BPI. And let's say, well, let's say options. So I like to have, for example, let's just add a boolean and add another integer. And let's add here, I can add, let's say I have an integer, have another boolean. Well, let's say, for example, a string. Perfect, something like that. I'm not going through the naming it, just to show you how that works. And here, if I say option, I have that in BPI option ready to go. I can send data and receive data out of it. And you open the breakfast. If you open, sorry, the switch, you have a new bit interface here, options. And if you open it, you have exactly the same function as we have for the others. You receive your data, you can process your data and send an output to basically the object who called that interface. And here we go. So, and that happens with Q key. I just send a message, player name, and I grab the ID. If I open the interface of check key here, yeah, I have this check key. I send the player name, which is this one, and I receive an output of ID, which is this guy here. Something interesting is you can't access anything here, as you see. You can't edit this part. The reason is in C++ implementation of interface, which is basically the next video. There you will understand why you can, you're banned basically to edit your interface from here. Anyway, and here is the key ID. I just receive a key ID from my interface. Perfect. So let's see what else is going on here. If I run the game and press C, sounds like magically everyone get disappeared. And if I press V, sounds like magically some of them are disappeared. So interesting. So what is going on? So let's go to third person. And here we go. So please pay attention. This part is important. As a game programmer, you need to know this very well, and you need to do that very well. When I press the V, I grab all actor of class of BP switches 00, which is this guy. At the moment, I have one. From the other one, I have two. I already grabbed the other one and saved them to an array. So it's a blueprint array of BP switch 00, and the other one is BP switch 01. If I want to grab anyone else on the scene, I need to grab all actor of switch number 3, which is basically this guy, and grab all actor of gate. I don't have any gate here, but perhaps if I have some, which is this one here, this guy here, if I have this guy here, for example, I need to grab them as well. And then I go through a for loop and hide them from the scene. So every object has a function to hide them from the scene. Alrighty. And then I go through the next array. And if I have third one and fourth one, I need to loop through all of them. So this is horrible. Yes, it's work on your PC. Your PC is for a gaming PC, is a very good PC, no problem, everything fine. But in a mobile phone, that's a problem. In a VR, virtual reality headset, it's a big problem. The engine in the background need to assign resources, need to load those objects. Those objects can be pretty heavy. Particle system, meshes, animation, sound, connection to other object. There are so many things about an object, an actor. So it's important that you just double check. It said yes. So it's very important that you have a method to simplify this management of references. Sometimes you need to exactly find and run a specific thing on these objects. Perhaps you must do something like this, but avoid it as much as you can. And the only one of the very, very good methods to avoid this situation is using interface. Here we go. I have all the actor which have activation interface. And I save these actors in an actor array. So the actor is basically this. If I go to, let me make an actor, right click. Oops, why? Doesn't work right click. Right click, blueprint class, actor. Here we go. This is an actor. There is nothing in it. That's the simplest object you can upload. You can put on the scene. No drama, nothing. It's just a replicated object in the scene. So you have an array of these objects. So processing this object for the engine is very much simpler than processing a reference of the objects, which are these guys here. Very similar to casting. For example, if you try to hit actor and cast to, if that is switched 1 or 2 or 0, this casting actually takes a lot, takes resources, takes time, and you need to load and work on it. But when we work with parent class, which is the actor here, we don't have that much process. We don't have that much drama in the background with the memory allocation, loading object, speed of RAM, speed of operating system, all those things are way much easier for a parent class array than a reference class of the objects. And I just need to go through one array of parent class and run an interface. It has this interface. I can run interface on all of them. It doesn't matter what they are. They are actors as a the parents are actor. So, and here we go. If I go to switch 00, I have the hide interface. If I go to switch 1, I have a hide interface. If I go to switch 3, I have hide interface. And if I go to key, I don't have hide interface. So it doesn't get hidden. So if I press C, everyone get hidden because they have that interface, but the key doesn't have that interface. It won't be in this array, and it won't get hidden. So quite important. Just careful. This is very important in optimization. You need to show off such a skill in your sample projects before apply for a job. And knowing interface programming is a must for apply for any type of game programming or application programming. I just put some links here in this sample in this project. Just check pretty useful links, and especially this one from Epic Games. Um, don't miss them. So let's check map number 2. So if I press play, and as you see, I am in sounds like I'm trapped. So if I press E, yes, I have a gate. I can open it without any problem. At the same time, this guy can get open and perhaps close. Am I? Yeah, perfect. And then here we go. So I have this exact same object with different presentation. I just put a couple of them. Here we go. I have a switch of light, works with interface. I have this light. Oh, sounds like something is going on here. All right, I have a gate. I have key number 8, so I can't open it. And the key number 6 is there. All right, how I can reach to that key? Let me turn on the lights. Perfect. So I need key number 4 for this one, or I need key number 10 for this one here. Alrighty, let's see what we have here. Turn on the light. Perfect. These are key 8, so I can open all of them. And here we go. I have a key which is changing. Ah, here we go. Ah, I was late. No. 11. I need 4 or 10 though. Okay, 4. Here we go. I grab key number 4 by pressing Q, and I can open this one, grab key number 6, and open the last gate. Here we go. So as you see, it was a very simple puzzle game, like finding keys and open the gates. Pretty simple. And everything is running by interface. If I press C here, every object who has that interface straight away will get hidden. If I press C again, all of them will return. And that is a power in programming. If you know interface, you can make your life way much more easier and way much more powerful, more optimized, let's say. Alrighty. This is the end of this video. As I mentioned, the next video will be implementation interface by C++. You need to know blueprint programming, blueprint interface programming. So just review this video before you jump to the next one. And let's say, yep, let's talk about homework. Well, it's not a homework, it's basically a practice. So if you go to Blueprint, you have another character here. This character is exact same character. It's basically a copy of a third person character. Everything I have here, I just duplicate this character, just change its name. So you can easily drag and drop this character. Let's go to pawn, change it to player 0, and grab our character here and change that to player. I basically disable that from player 0. So if I run the game, this is my main character. And it has exactly same features as the other one. So your homework, or let's say practice, is try to implement different objects here. Like this gate can accept a password. These keys can give you two different keys for two different set of gates. These gates can get upgraded to more complex system, perhaps timer, material, and the lights as well can be upgraded. This light source just use this object just turn on one light source, this one turn on two. This one has one turn on two, I believe, yes. So try to use this character, make new interface over these objects and implement different functionality. Perhaps you press RGB and you can change the light color of these objects. So if I press this, for example, here, if I press RGB, I can change basically the light color within the face. This is basically very first homework. The second homework is try to implement interface, try to make a multiplayer game. You know how to. So here we can go to platform, change the how many players and this one, number of players, and run it as a multiplayer game and try to replicate data of your interfaces in network. If you follow the network rules, you can do that pretty easy, but that homework will help you a lot because using interface in multiplayer is great. Nothing serious about it. It's a pattern you need to practice and learn, but this will be very, very useful practice. Or let's say homework. Alrighty. Thank you very much. And if you want to check next video, which is C++ implementation interface, please make sure you understand the blueprint one. You can make blueprint interfaces and then jump for the next video. Thank you.